I just want to restate the idea that the reason for me doing this for 6 months, shooting with only my phone, was to inspire people to go out and take pictures. There's many people who are interested in photography, but they stop or they don't try to take photos because they quote unquote say they don't have a camera, but you have a phone. So you can start photography today using only your phone. A phone is actually a very good starting point, like as a beginner camera. And then later on, once you want to get more serious, you can actually go out and invest in a camera of your choice. And phone photography really isn't that special. I don't think I deserve some award for shooting for only 6 months with my phone. Like, it's not some crazy, incredible feat. A phone camera is still way better than anything people had back in the day. Like, that isn't to say that Fan Ho, for example, wouldn't have used the camera if it didn't have in-body stabilization. Like, I'm sure he would have liked that very much. Or if Henry Cartier-Bresson had eye autofocus, like, he would definitely take that, I'm pretty sure. Photography is just photography, whether it be with a real camera or whether it be with a phone camera. It doesn't really matter. The same principles pretty much still apply. You're just kind of limiting yourself a little bit. However, I must admit that shooting with only a phone for 6 months has been like a very humbling experience. Basically, I have never shot so much in my life. There have been moments where I would just take a few steps and take a photo, and then like another few steps later, I would want to take another photo. And it was just so easy because I always had my phone with me. And there's other perks, such as it's really light. I didn't have to worry about carrying around a bunch of lenses or tripods or charging up all my batteries, because basically my phone's pretty much always charged. Literally, after I started shooting with my phone, I just saw pictures everywhere. Like, photography was all around me, basically. And I feel like since I limited myself to shooting with only a phone, I had to like really push my creativity to its limit, basically. And as you guys may know already, I love infrared photography, and like I had to find a way to shoot infrared photography with my phone. So I ended up creating a nice little filter to be able to achieve that. There are so many pictures I never thought I could take with just my phone if I hadn't just been forced to use only my phone. I do a lot of street photography, and if you're out there in the street shooting with like a big camera, people actually basically they run away. They turn around when they see you with a camera. But when they saw me with the phone, they just kind of dismissed me, basically, and they just kept on walking. So that's definitely a perk to using your phone. But it can never beat the feel of a real camera, and I think having that feel is very important for photography, because in essence, photography is an experience. You have to take enjoyment in doing it. Otherwise, you're not gonna be motivated to go out and take photos. Also, I got lots of mixed reactions online. Many people were surprised that my pictures were shot with a phone. It just goes to show that the majority of people, they don't pay attention to the same things that photographers pay attention to. Many photographers, especially the ones online and in forums, they pay attention to the most trivial things that normal people just don't care about, like soft edges or a little noise in the shadows or a little bit of camera movement. But I've said this before, other photographers and pixel peepers, these people aren't the ones buying your services or buying your images. People who buy your images and your services usually do it for other reasons, you took a picture of something that means very much to them, or they want to support you, or perhaps you have a real good reputation and they like your style, so that's why they come to you. So while you may get a lot of hate from the pixel peepers for having a little noise in the shadows, or even professionals do this, they like to put down phone photographers. I don't know why, but the point is that the pixel peepers aren't going to be the ones paying for your service. It's going to be other people, and they're going to support you regardless of whether you use a phone or if you're using like a main camera. By the way, I think now would be a pretty good time to let you know that Someone, I'm not gonna say his name, is going to be in the Seoul Museum of Arts. So they're gonna have like a nice cyberpunk exhibit. Yeah, take that, Pixel Peepers. Now, I did tell you I was more of an artist, right? So I'm a photographer, but I do consider myself more towards the artistic spectrum of photography. I read many message boards online of people saying that companies and people would not hire you if you're shooting with your phone. Well, I actually found that to be the complete opposite because many companies actually they found out what I was doing and actually gathered some kind of reputation for that, and they hired me to shoot basically their products or their models or whatever they wanted with a phone. I even had a really big company, which I'm not sure I'm even allowed to say the name, but I will tell you it's a big rival to Apple, that hired me to shoot street photos with their phone, and the pay was quite nice, believe me. But so far, I have not had a client turn me down because I was shooting with my phone. Like I always told them too, like, hey, I'm doing this project and I'm only going to be shooting with my phone. And you know what? None of them cared and they hired me anyways. So for people telling you that you can't make any money with phone photography, that's clearly BS. But it really does depend on your reputation and how professional you are and how people know you to be. So just take that into consideration. It also made me realize just how much I could do if I had a normal camera, because you know I pushed my phone camera to the limits. I mean, I did everything I could with it, but it made me think like, if I can do so much with a phone camera, think of all the things I could do with a regular camera, even if it's not the latest and greatest camera. My main camera is actually from like 2012 or something like that, but like, you know, a phone camera sensor is not even close to what any crop sensor can do, and it's worse than any micro four thirds camera out there, and yet I was able to do so much with just the phone camera, you know. And I'm a night photographer, you know, I shoot in the lowest of light, and most people are not night photographers, you know. So if I can do what I can do in the nighttime with my phone, what can you do with your phone when there's plenty of light available? What can you do as a beginner if you get even a crappy real camera? You know, not doesn't even have to be full frame. It could be crop or a micro four thirds camera. Like, you could do so much more than me with a real camera. And I hope that motivates someone listening out there. But it also made me a little bit sad because, you know, I learned that people never change, and despite shooting with the phone, despite purposely buying the crappiest secondhand lens attachments for the phone, people still want to know the gear. Like, it went from, hey, what camera and lens do you use, to, hey, what phone camera and what phone lens are you using? And like, it's very depressing for me. It feels like an uphill battle with people. Like, you know, I've been shooting phone pictures not just with my iPhone 7 Plus, but I've been doing it with an iPhone 5 too. And actually I started with the iPhone 5, and that was like from 2012. So basically any phone you have right now is going to be whatever I started with. But people never change. Like, people will always find a way to make excuses to why their pictures are not as good as yours. Like, oh, it's not my fault, it's the camera's fault. You know, like, people have this illusion that their pictures, since they're not as good, if they buy a new camera or if they buy a new lens, they're magically going to be taking better pictures. And so people will always be chasing this like a white rabbit. Like, there's always a new camera next year that's going to be better than the one I have right now, and there's always going to be something better. And if I just had that better one than the one I have now, I would be famous, or I'll make it on Instagram, or pictures would be really good. And that's just not the case. Yeah, I mean, it's not all green grass on the other side. Like, I realize there is so much hate for people who shoot with their phone. Like, are people really that thin-skinned and insecure about their skills? Like, they bought a very expensive camera, and then here comes a person with their phone. Do they really feel so threatened by somebody with their phone that they just like badmouth them and like basically try to put them down for shooting with a phone? Like, I can tell you right now, if you're a real professional, like a professional at heart, you're not going to feel threatened by anyone with a phone, you know, like there's just no way. Like a good camera and a phone, they're like miles apart. But you can still take amazing images with your phone, don't get me wrong. But there is so much hatred toward phone photographers. Like I had never in my life imagined that, and you shouldn't you shouldn't be that way, you know, because like if you're a good photographer, you know you're a good photographer, and many people feel like they're losing out to business to like people with phones, you know, because they're willing to do it for free for exposure. And all I really have to say to you is like keep your standards up, you know. If someone wants to hire someone else who's willing to work for less than me, like for exposure, go ahead. You know, I don't care about small change. You know, I work for the big companies and they'll hire me based on my reputation alone. And if you're a professional, that's basically the attitude you should have. You know, if someone wants to hire someone for the concert for free and not you, it's their loss, you know, not yours. You got better things to do. You're a professional. You should keep that mentality. If you're a professional and you see someone starting out photography and all they have is their phone, you should encourage them, you know, like for me, like I did this 6 months, even though I wanted to go a full year. I did this for 6 months because I wanted to motivate more people to go out there and shoot. And partly because I got tired of people asking me which camera I use, you know, and I just wanted to tell them I shoot with my phone just to see what the reaction is. Yeah, I'm that kind of person. But anyways, I'm sorry this video is not in listicle formats. Like I know lists are very popular on YouTube and that's what people like, but this is just me talking how it is. And if you have time right now, I'm actually going to tell you a short story that happened to me this week, because my intention was to shoot with my phone for a whole year, but I just got really depressed this week and I just needed to use my camera so bad. And I'm going to tell you that story right now. It's kind of personal. If you don't care about me personally, go ahead and, you know, you can go if you want. But if you want to know my reasoning why I started shooting with my camera again, I'm going to tell you right now. So I'm an English teacher, you know. I have a master's degree in linguistics, and I had the opportunity to teach at a very good school on Monday. But the problem was they wanted a literature teacher, and I'm a linguistics teacher. If you don't know the difference, basically I teach language and methodology, and literature is like Shakespeare and stuff, you know. So I went there feeling like I was prepared for the job. I'm gonna take this head on. I've had years and years of experience. The first thing they asked me is to make 2 lesson plans in less than 20 minutes over the book of Mice and Men, which I actually never read. You know, the last time I was near a lit class or a book was like 13 years ago. And then they proceeded to interview me after all that. So it was a disaster. And of course, I didn't get the job, but I have never felt so depressed. I have never screwed something up so bad as that. But yeah, you know, I'm linguistics major, not a lit major. Anyways, I felt so depressed that the only way I could feel better is to get myself some gear. So I bought the Helios 44-2, not very expensive. And then I really wanted to use my camera. So I thought, hey, it's been 6 months already. I basically proved my point that it's not the camera that matters, it's the photographer, you know, and I don't really feel the need to keep going the whole year. Yeah, so basically I proved my point and I want to use my camera. And there's so many things I can't do with the phone. For example, I can do infrared photography, but I can't do full spectrum photography. You know what I mean? And yeah, thanks for listening to my more personal aspect of this video, and let me know your thoughts below. I'd appreciate it. And you know what I would appreciate is if one of you shared this video on Reddit, because, you know, why not, you know, especially the photography forums. Anyways, thank you so much, and I'll see you around.